I guess it's 6 o'clock. I guess we can start. Everybody ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we could just do roll call, and if we could do that by going around the table and folks stating their name and whether they're a committee member or a staff person, and then we'll go on to the Zoom to see who's there.
Neil Stegeson, town planner.
Mo Klein, planning.
Allison Weaver, committee member.
Rebecca Schneider, planning and committee member.
Liz Weatherby, town board and committee member.
Great. And I am Ann DePetta, and I am a committee member and the chair of the committee. And looks like on Zoom we have Roxanne.
Hi, Roxanne Marino, committee member and chair of the Conservation Sustainability Advisory Committee. Still haven't found the video, sorry, but I'll work on it. I'm a black square for tonight.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is approving the agenda. Did everybody get to see the agenda? Were there any changes needed or suggestions?
Nope.
Okay, so then I think we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll do it. Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Second.
Mo is second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those against? None against? We are on to our next item. Okay. Next is approval of our past minutes. Did everybody get to see the past minutes? Okay, anybody have any changes or suggestions? Yeah, that was very detailed.
Very
also.
detailed. I think there was a couple spots, maybe some names, but I'm not gonna be
Yes.
picky where I'm gonna make you go back and fix any of those, because I can't even remember who's what. but-
Well, one of them was my.
No, that was something that like, I think Ann said, but
Yes,
it was like
it
my
wasn't me.
name or Roxanne said it was just, but
Yeah, there was definitely one spot where my name was noted that I said it, but I was like, that definitely was not me. So I don't know how important it is that we change that.
That's up to you.
I'm not offended. I don't know anything that I'm tied to, so.
Okay,
I think it wouldn't matter more if it was a vote or if there's motions and things like that.
okay. So anything else? Roxanne, did you have anything to add about the minutes?
No, there was, that tiny bit of confusions, but I think if nobody's that concerned this time, it's fine. I don't have them in front of me, so I thought they were overall really good.
Yes, me too. Okay, do we have a motion to approve last month's minute?
Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mel. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those against? Excellent. Okay, next item is privilege of the floor. So this is the part of the meeting where we welcome the public to address the committee members who are here. There is a minute limit of 3, so 3-minute limit. So anybody want to?
Thank
You have this opportunity if you wish.
Okay. First of all, thanks for the opportunity to comment on your work. My thoughts are largely based on the previous town comprehensive plan and the turmoil felt by many residents. The plan seemingly became the focus for much of the town activity, a be-all and end-all unto itself, and seemingly full of personal agendas and preferences. Thank you. I would ask you proceed with some sense of restraint, so to speak. It is quite amazing that a relatively small group can direct and assert so much direction. And I know it's a lot of work, so I don't mean that in a critical sense. But this was driving the agenda for 5 years of town board meetings. So it's pretty important that you guys get it right as best you can. So some issues with the previous comprehensive plan were surveys that were interpreted quite differently than I as a responder could have imagined. For example, I recall a question, are you in favor of zoning? I answered yes, because our experience was that the zoning process was reasonable and flexible enough to work for the residents. I believe the comprehensive plan committee took a yes to mean we wanted more zoning, which was not the case, at least for me. There were some real basic misunderstandings with the survey. I'd ask you please phrase your surveys carefully, and please try not to let agendas or biases form your decision making. As best I will have our opinions. So I think that a particular waterfront group that claimed to represent and speak for the majority of waterfront residents. That was simply not the situation. When conversations with their leadership occurred early in the process, that expressed disagreement with the waterfront group's position. Their reply was, well, too bad. You better get on board because their agenda is happening. And that was quite contentious. I don't want to relive that. It wasn't any fun. The initial zoning that was proposed based on the first comprehensive plan was frustrating for both the town board and the residents. I'm assuming the town board didn't have a lot of fun with it, but from the residential point of view, it wasn't fun. To hear that the plan provided a good foundation, which I think I understood from the last meeting, feels like here we go again. I hope we don't have to do that again. I know your task is huge. And again, thank you for your time and thoughtful deliberations. So it's a tough job.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm sorry if you said your name and I missed it.
I'm sorry, Tim Fallon.
Tim Fallon, okay, and you're a community member?
Yes, I live in 3 Maplewood Point,
Okay,
and that's down the lake.
nice to meet you, Tim. Thank you for being here. Go ahead, Mel.
Do you have that written out?
Yes,
And do we want to give it so we can have it in part of the minutes?
I think that was a public record.
Yeah,
Be okay.
well, no, he did read it in public, so we should have
Yeah,
it
do you mind?
correct, what he actually read.
that's fine.
That'd be great, thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to.
Yeah, does anyone have anything they wanna? Yes, go ahead.
Thanks for coming and coming so early in the
Yeah.
process.
Yes.
And I'm very excited. Did you see this in like the newsletter that you knew, because we're really just getting started. How did you know we were doing this?
I get the town weekly email.
Yep, that's
Mhm.
great.
So,
That's good to know that
Good.
people are reading it, and that's great. Thank you for that.
I had to plan it actually, so it's still last night.
But we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So we are encouraging a lot of public participation early
Okay.
and often.
Well, that's
So,
makes sense.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? Okay. I appreciate you being here and everything that you
Yeah, I'm doing
suggested.
good.
Thank you.
I
Okay,
can't-
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
sounds
Thanks
good.
much.
Thank you for being here.
These are recorded if you ever want to
Yes.
chop in later. If you want to see what's going
All
on.
right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Tim. Okay, next item is old business. So we do have a couple of items here under the work plan. I don't know, Niels, is this you? Do we have any?
I can
Okay,
touch base on both of them
okay.
pretty briefly. So
fabulous.
the DC grant, Michelle and I didn't have a whole bunch of information, actually, no new information since last month, except for today. A few hours ago, we did finally get back an email with a revised work plan from the EC or the grant coordinator. I hadn't had time to really look into it and see what's changed, but she said there was substantive changes
Oh,
in the work plan. So Michelle and I will have to work through that, see what's going on. And what I'm hopeful for is that we'll meet with Maria Luis, I believe is her name, and figure out if, we're still good to go forward with a RFQ for a consultant. So hopefully within a couple of weeks, I can send out a draft for the committee members and they can get that reviewed, and by next meeting, get comments and recommendations for the town board so that we can get it on the town board's agenda for July. It'll probably be the last week for July. So that's my quick update.
Thank
okay.
And then the community outreach, we have one slot left available currently for the comp plan steering committee. Town board, my understanding, would like to have that available for someone in the lakeshore zone.
Mhm.
So there was a older list, I want to say from 2015, of a homeowners association or something for the lakeshore zone, where we had maybe 15 to 20 emails, and I reached out to all of them. I CC'd you. It was on the .gov, so they may be coming in at some point.
Oh, next year, yeah.
So far, those that have responded have been no, just to inform everybody. So, but we do have a couple people that we've already interviewed. that seem to be very interested and would be great candidates. If no one steps up, we do have someone to fill in that last position. But if any of you know anyone in the Lakeshore Zone that would be interested, please continue your outreach.
I did ask, but I said, no way. I was like, oh, okay. Sorry. A surprise.
Yeah. Is there, yeah, Roxanne, I see your hand up. Good job.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Oh, it works. Just a question on the plan, the work plan, the DEC grant. So is that a negotiation with them? Like when you read it, if you know, it really doesn't seem to work, is it kind of a back and forth, or is it your sense that you just have to accept it the way it is? I just remember it was a NYSERDA grant, not DEC, but there was a bunch of back and forth on the actual, you know, work plan contract before we signed off on it. And so the town did have some ability to push back if they weren't entirely happy with the changes they were asking for. So I was just wondering if you have a sense of that.
Yeah, good question. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't have time to really get to look at what her changes were. So I think once Michelle and I can sit down and review it and see what's going on, I can send out an email update on that.
Yeah, it would be great if we could see it and, you know, what they're suggesting and, you know, just give you a little input. You know, you probably can push back a little if it's something really unacceptable. I mean, if they say no, then okay, then we have to do it or not take the grant, which I doubt we would do. But anyway, yeah, it would be great to see it. Thank you.
Okay, I was gonna ask on the committee membership, do you have just one list of emails? So I may have a contact that you could maybe reach out to for maybe a broader list of emails for Lakeshore.
Okay.
Group. So I'll send that to you, send you that contact, see if I can.
And we're looking for homeowners, right? Not necessarily somebody who has a business down in the Lakeshore area.
Correct.
I mean, there's only a few businesses. Okay.
All right, anything else on either of those items? Okay, I guess we don't have to like agree, you know, we don't have to do it. We have no voting, right? So
I
next
thought-
item.
Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry, at the last town, at one town board meeting, or I thought Rich was going to ask someone on the BZA that he knew who also lived on the lake shore. He had mentioned that at some town board meetings. Did he do that? And that was a no?
I don't know if Rich reached out, but I did reach out to Tom. He's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was also a strong no.
A strong no, okay.
Well,
Just-
it was all in caps, so I kind of took that.
I'll take that as a show.
Okay, I just thought I'd just check on that because I had remembered the discussion. Thank you.
All right, excellent. So no other old business items. We will be moving on to new business. The first item is the comprehensive plan elements, goals, and policies comparisons. I don't know how, do you want to lead this discussion, Niels? I don't know how you want to go forward with that conversation.
Sure, I'll start it off.
Okay.
So thank you to everyone. I think everyone except for one sent in comments, and I compiled everything. I did not put in people's names for the discussion tonight because I kind of wanted it to be just a discussion of topics not associated with anyone necessarily. But there's basically 5 points, elements of the plan that were identified by members that needed improvement, elements of the plan that were identified as a strength, and then a comparison with other jurisdictions. So the first one was a comparison that had of another comp plan that had similar elements that you thought maybe did a better job than the town of Ulysses. Maybe there were, and then the other one was elements and other comp plans that you'd like to see incorporated into our plan. And then the last one was maybe issues in the plan that maybe were problematic or maybe should be deleted in the upper. So I thought for discussions of tonight, we could go back and forth, hear people's opinions and maybe jump around a bit. So if we talked about elements of the plan that members thought needed improvement and were identified as a strength, we could lead off with those two for tonight. And it might be a long discussion and might carry over into next night's meeting. So at some point we'll have to figure out when to stop tonight's discussion.
And when the clock strikes 12.
But
All right, so you want to start with strengths for,
well, let's start off with what members thought needed improvement.
okay,
And that's the, if you're looking at the PDF, that's the very first part of the document.
all right. Does anyone want to go first? Thank you, Rebecca.
I kind of always think of the reverse way of thinking of like, oh, what we all liked about other ones that seemed like we really wanted to make sure we did here, but we had a little bit. And so I was counting them 4 separate people said how much they liked when there was very precise action items with timeframes and assigned leadership and action items and, you know, clearly laid out. And everybody liked that when they saw it in the other ones. And we had a version of that, but it wasn't as good as some of the other ones we saw. So that was like, oh, that's something we can do better.
I think I was noticing, and it could be just documents evolve, even the way we present these are evolve. But I was noticing that a lot of the more recent issued comp plans or visions or whatever they were calling them were more illustrative and had a lot of graphs and charts and diagrams that helped me visualize how things are related to what. And like Dryden had each of the comment or each of the survey questions right next to the policy that it was applicable to. And I thought that was very helpful in seeing them next to each other. All the information was in ours. It's just mostly text. And again, I think that's because formats have changed over time. But I'm a visual learner. So like I like seeing things, not necessarily reading a whole 2 paragraphs of text.
Me too.
So,
Clearly.
Yeah, most people don't want to just read text.
Yeah.
They would like a little bit of illustration.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of those items. I wanted to see a real clear timeline with outcomes and action items and who was going to do what, and that felt like it was missing. But also the visual piece was huge for me too. I really loved the plans that we looked at that had the visual elements with timelines, history. Like I think some of them actually put some real effort into their history, the story of the town, which I think is really nice. And I also, just to add one little piece to that, is some of them were interactive, you know, where you could click on it and something pops out, or, you know, and I don't know if we're gonna go that far, but some of them were pretty fancy with their
Well, that's not that
technology.
hard to do. I mean,
These days, maybe
yeah,
not.
no, it's not.
Yeah,
No.
so
mean, if
I
you click on a
liked,
picture or something.
yeah,
Sure.
I liked that it was interactive. Some of them were interactive. So, yeah,
Yeah, some of them had videos
yeah,
of an area. If it was, you know, they had something going on, they had a little video going. So, yeah, that's not that hard to do.
yeah. Any other, our question is improvements. Okay, any other improvements that anyone?
I kind of, I really like what you gave us to look at, because it was the comparison that then really pointed out for me, like, oh, so like Corning's was really an economic analysis. It was a project.
Mm.
And so, but they did a careful analysis of that. And I thought, oh, we didn't do as good a job of like the housing and the economic pieces. We really did focus on the land use. And so by seeing that and the others having done it better, that made it important to me that we do a better job with like the economics and the housing issues.
Yeah, a lot of ours was driven on land use, which might have been what was the key focus 12 years ago, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, I guess it is now. But I think now we're seeing that there's more global issue, like more issues that we can be looking at holistically in the comp plan, such as economics. Housing is a big concern right now, especially after COVID. The environmental sustainability of and climate change impacts and preparation and all that. Those are things that have come up in the last couple of years. that might not have been considered back then, but is definitely something we should be looking at now.
I looked a lot at the Corning plan, and to go back to the economic piece, that ours just seemed to be lacking a lot of that. There was a lot of detail on like what industries, what businesses are leaking out of the area, what's the radius of certain things, what certain businesses would we want to draw? I don't know if that ties in with like Ulysses Town Square, what do we need more of that people are traveling into Ithaca, Watkins? And that was spelled out really well in the Corning plan. I thought that one in particular.
Oh, Roxanne, thank you. Wave that hand around, Roxanne.
I'm a black square, I'm here. I was looking at the comparison that Neil sent the summary documents, and I looked a little bit into the different other plans, and so I'm not going to comment on that right now because I didn't finish my homework because I was traveling, and I apologize. But I at sort of a higher level of what I think is going to be needed more than what was clear enough out of last time, and perhaps it goes to the privilege of the floor comment on the survey and wording it really carefully and trying to figure out what exactly we want. There's a very strong sense. I mean, I was on the past comprehensive plan committee, and have dealt a lot with zoning, land use things all the way up since then in some manner or another in the town. And people always say they want a rural environment. They want open space. They want a rural environment. They highly value that. They highly value, things like that, having agriculture. But I think we need to really, kind of try to drill down more on what understand the goals that the community really has there, and what is meant by a rural environment. Like, what do they really want? Because a lot of, when you get to the nuts and bolts of trying to implement it, or as per zoning, or even making the future land use map where you figure out where you're going to put areas where you'll have more businesses, or areas where you'll have more residential, or you'll try to think it's very important to preserve farmland. There's often conflict with those goals, and so I think and then people get angry. So I think the more we can understand about what the community now, 2023, different than 2009, really wants and is envisioning, will be very helpful. And it just struck me through many of the things that I read with the objectives that we need a clear, the survey needs to really, and all the discussions we have with the public, just really trying to drill down and get more nuanced sense of what people mean than last time, because yeah, there's more issues now, there's more people now, there's climate and things we have to solve, there's changes in the way agriculture is happening, there's a lot of things. So yeah, I think that is a need.
Thank you for that, Roxanne.
Yeah, it really is a nice framework. So as I was looking through the different ones, like I start with all the ones that were our size, and then I realized, oh, this is interesting. Here's a village where they really don't have an environment per se. They were looking to put in parks. That was a big goal. I'll look which one it was, Socrates or something. And so it's like, oh, okay, we fit into a category where we have this significant chunk of environment. And so for me, like I read Southampton's, and it's like, oh, they have, even though they're coastal, they really have this ecotourism kind of thing that's real important. We have the same thing, we have Mechanic Falls, it's critical to who we are. And so finding, and they nicely laid out how it's the challenges to have a sustainable environment that's the core of the whole thing, while meeting these needs of economic and some growth and transportation and all. So I liked seeing that, kind of focusing on the ones that were comparable in the similar challenges. And so one of them even had a section, and I can look up which one, about it wasn't working. They had zoning, but people were using variances to get around what the zoning was to protect the environment. And it's like, oh my God, that's exactly our situation. And so seeing that balance, because the Teganic Falls, our prime ag lands, the things that are foundational, you know, to our economic viability and our quality of life, you know, the water, I mean, everything. And then saying, but we have all these other things. So it's gonna, I love that, okay, some of these have solutions to them. Oh my God, by looking at the other plans, we won't have to reinvent the wheel. So I like using this as a repository to come up with solutions and finding the ones that have worked through some of these details. I was pleased. I think for us, that's gonna be the tough part, balancing those environmental resource protection issues with all these other things that we are, like housing. And I'm a strong person saying we need housing. People, our kids can't afford houses. Oh my God. So yeah, that's gonna be where I'll be watching all the time. How do we balance these two pieces that we, you know, the environment and then all the other needs?
Yeah. Okay. Rose, do you want to tell us who you are?
I'm a chronically late person, apparently. I was late to turn in my stuff. I did send it the day before. And I'm Rose Hanson. I live in the village. I started getting involved with this because we've been getting really involved in the village zoning. And I had an aha moment actually looking at the county's comprehensive plan and looking at town of Ithaca. And it's just so strange how the village and the town of Ulysses are separate when we're not at all separate. So all these issues, you know, we share most of the same issues. So it would be nice to be able to coordinate things better. But even like reading what the county had to say, and they don't prescribe everything, like they leave that sort of to the towns, but seeing what they want from us, you know, that development should be where the development is. I'm not really sure how you build out Jacksonville, but they're saying there's not really water and sewer there. There's not sewer, at least. So that sort of limits things, but that the reason they want a growth in the village, or at least how I read it, was to make it a self-sustaining place. So if you get it up to 2,500 people, then people don't have to leave to get services. So it was kind of interesting because there's a lot of, you know, push pull on the growth and, you know, different people seeing reasons for growth or not growth. So it seems like everybody wants to preserve the farmland, keep growth, you know, in denser areas. And the other thing that struck me is that things are so interconnected. So one thing, like reading the town of Ithaca, they'd have a heading and they would say, also refer to these things under a different heading, because, you know, sustainability falls under so many things, like everything is interconnected. And so you write this kind of linear plan, but it's really more of a web. One thing, you know, affects the other. And it was interesting to see how much has changed since 2009. Like, you know, climate wasn't mentioned, and there's no housing, there's no, you know, it's just, it's weird. It hasn't been that long and just so much has changed. So it'd be nice to be able to work in concert with the village on things that overlap. I guess that's all I had to add. Hopefully I didn't repeat anything. I'm sorry, I smell like food. Peppers and onions. That's the worst thing to bring into a meeting if people haven't eaten dinner.
Thank you, Rose. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we have a liaison. So thank you for being here.
I'm not at all an official, you know, village person, but we've been spending hours and hours on the village zoning, so.
Good to have. Okay, where are we at?
We'd like to start talking about the strengths in the existing plan.
Okay.
Is there anyone
Any
here who's a
strengths?
farmer?
My family's a farmer, but I'm not. I married into a farming. family.
What farm?
Weatherby Farm.
Oh,
Weatherby Farms on
okay.
Seneca Road.
So you married into the Weatherbys? Okay.
Yep.
We have one committee member who's not here, who's also as an ag representative.
Correct.
As well.
Okay.
So strengths of the current plan. Which on our PDF here starts on page 723, I think. It's like there's a lot in here, but go ahead.
No, I mean, I think it was a well-written plan that covered, like we've been talking about, the issues that were brought to the attention back in 2009. So I think they covered land use great. And I think that I actually enjoyed reading the history of the town. Maybe there's ways we can bring in different elements of the history into our plan, so we're not repeating the same information, but bringing out some new features or something. Because I do think we need to know where we're going in the future. We need to know where we've been. So I don't want to delete it completely, which I think was actually one of my comments. But I'm revising that, Niels. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. Roxanne, thank you.
Did we talk at all about the history of some of the changes that people, I know there was, I'm looking for a better word than brouhaha, but there was opposition to some of the farming and preserving land issues. Does anybody remember any of
From
that?
2009.
Yeah, I mean, so this would have been them attempting to zone stuff or limit development.
Mm.
And some farmers were upset because that was their retirement plan, was to sell off their lots. And so I don't mean to be skipping around, but I just think we should know
Yeah,
something more about that. And
we should talk about that at some point.
yeah, so I don't know who's, I don't know if Roxanne would know.
She might know, and we'll pivot over to you, Roxanne. Our topic is strengths of the current
Right.
plan. But if you have anything you want to add to what Rose is saying, feel free to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's I always say that it's like the holy grail of planning, rural planning, to try to figure out how to mesh those two things. It's been a continuous issue for all of the time since the comprehensive plan, since before the comprehensive plan. I came on in 2005 when they were doing a huge rezoning, like the change, first time in like 40 years that they had really changed the zoning, and the board was predominantly farm related individuals. And even then they struggled. It's a struggle. It's a huge struggle. And that's partly where I was coming from, with the really understanding, drilling into the community. What do you care about? What is rural? And we need to know it from farmers. We need to know it from everybody, because trying to solve that problem is super difficult. And just one other comment on what Rose said, and I can say my one strength thing is with regard to the county plan. I don't know, I haven't looked at the new one now, but when we did the 2009 comp plan, they were very, very strong on wanting like nodes. They were very into nodes.
Yeah.
And so it needed to, and so they actually pushed back on the draft of the comp plan that we had, and they do get to review it under the way the county rules work for these things, because it touches other municipalities. And like sort of really, we had quite a back and forth with them about it, because they wanted us to have Jacksonville as a node and then the village as a node, and really nothing in between, not even that mixed use part that's on the current future land use map, because that's just really the way they believed it should be coming out of Ithaca. So that's partly why the way the future land use map is now is trying to expand a bit around in the town around the village of Trumansburg, and try to see if there's a way to make that, denser. But of course it's difficult, because there's only so much land and people own it and they want to do what they want to do. So that's a challenge. But just the one other thing, I won't say anything else. I think that there were a lot of good strengths. I was really happy to see that even back then, transportation options, which I think is a big issue to try to still think about challenging again, but was there alternative energy sources and energy reduction measures were brought up then, and they're, only a lot more significant now. And that's part of actually what, the town said they would focus on in applying for that grant that we got. And so I think all those things were good. And obviously preserving agricultural lands, it's important to our food future, and it can support local business and tourism. It's part of the town's heritage. So it's a strength to recognize the importance of it, into the future. But again, it's a big challenge. And I think, recognizing the value of community identity and community programming and the importance of social and recreational programs was a strength back then, because it really lets the most residents engage in the town. And so I thought those were all strengths back in 2009. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Roxanne.
I'll comment on the community identity piece, which is at the core of it, and there's other comp plans did some nice jobs. One had a strategy where they ended up with a word cloud or something like that, which was
Yeah.
cool. They went with this Aunt Sally postcard,
I like that too.
which I thought was.
I don't
interesting.
understand what that is.
Yeah, it's neat.
All right, so they give them a postcard, you're right, and say, pretend you're writing to somebody, tell them what you would, they say, Aunt Sally, oh, the community's gotten so much nicer, there's now a little coffee shop, or, oh, wow, now I can get down to the lake more easily than I used to.
Okay,
And because you're writing to somebody, it gives people start kind of being more honest,
Yeah.
or really like visualizing a dream. And that's what those were, to think about what they wanted to be in their identity. And so, I like using more creative ways than I think we've done. Even the survey's a tool, but I think creative ways to really get at this. We did, you guys did a survey. I don't know how many people responded. I don't know how for the survey.
was it like
That
35 or
That's a
something?
question
Or
I have too.
35.
or 35 people participated? I saw that
That's
number
really-
somewhere.
That's.
I actually read it.
Really?
I found it. I found it was a lot, and just when you open up the plan and it's so long, like even to have the appendices somewhere else, so it doesn't just seem so daunting.
Yeah. Roxanne, is your hand up again, or is that?
Oh,
did-
No, I'm
back?
sorry. I have to
Okay.
Put it down.
Sorry. I'll just keep
An
calling
out
it.
of control hand. Yes.
Yeah. All right, any other strengths? So we're kind of focused on strengths of the current plan.
I thought there was some good writing in it. Clearly, I thought the justifications were good, and then there were these clear written objective statements. So parts of it, and I mean, because one of those we read was nonstop text, and you had to kind of dig in to find the vision statement, where these were really just formatted easily for me to understand. So the writing was decent. I think, it made a difference. It can be better, more visuals for me too, but
Yeah.
I think clear writing and making sure we do a good job, that's important.
Yeah, and problems along with solutions and, any other strengths in the current plan, or the 2009 plan, I should say?
I think they've covered what I.
Yeah, me too. Okay.
Nope.
Do you want to
So,
pick
yeah,
another topic?
yeah, I'll skip around to the comparisons and go down to the last one, which was elements that members thought needed to be omitted or problematic. And so that one's down at the very bottom. There wasn't a whole lot. Look at page 22.
The one I actually thought of that one was, but it was interesting because I heard somebody say something different. To me, the history, once it's been compiled, it's almost like it belongs on the web about our town, and I like that it's rich and should have linkages and videos and all. To me, it takes up too much space to take
Yes.
as part of the plan, comp plan, but we need it. So, but to me, it's why isn't that on our website,
Yeah.
So that's to me, go see the website I would take that out of there and not use that space for that.
I thought that was too much also. Just that whole first piece just seemed, and sort of going every detail about how it's important, I think, to talk about all they did to get involvement, but it just seemed too dense to me, and I just wanted to get through it,
Yeah, that was my feeling as well. And I think as my comment earlier, and maybe you weren't here yet, Rose, but I was saying having some kind of interactive component, because the history is actually really important and it's really interesting. And that was my thought. I was this is really interesting, but does anyone really read it? Maybe not. So if it were something that were interactive, where it's a timeline or it's a box you can click and you can get more information, or a link or something to another page where there's more history.
Or it can be condensed, or
Yeah.
more visual components or something. There's options there.
With Town of Ithaca, they have like that uniform code. I don't know how to describe it, but it is that where you click it and then it sort of pops out, but it's sort of like table of contents that you sort of click and can get more information out of. I was
more simplified.
Not a fan of the identity piece at the end. I felt like it was an odd label. And I think maybe breaking out history and breaking out a few, like, I feel like it seemed sort of mishmashy. And not that it wasn't important, but I just felt like it was a bunch of things together that maybe could be broken out.
Is that the community character survey?
It was
That's
the
what lost
last
me.
element. Was
Like
it?
the vision, the ranking of the different photos?
Oh, that I didn't like
I
either.
thought it was just too much. Like it was
And-
20 pages of photos, which.
Of not around here either,
Yeah.
you know?
And I understand where they were getting at, because what you want to see kind of goes to how you want your community to be. But I thought there's other ways we can get that approach out there too, and kind of get that maybe in a condensed version of 20 pages.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm just thinking about another whole strategy of doing that. Any other conversation about items that should be omitted?
I did do a master plan before, not here, but in another area. We actually didn't even go through the old plan at all. We just tossed it away and started new, because there were so many mistakes in the old plan, and plus it was 10 years.
Yeah.
It was easier just to start brand new than to go through all the old stuff and say, oh yeah, we like that, we like that. It was easier just to rewrite it.
Mhm.
And it did take a year to do, just like we're doing here.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
I will say though, so much of what is written is still true today.
Yes.
You know, I think people's concerns, even though there's new concerns, I feel like people really love the views, the open space, the natural resources, the parks. I mean, to me, I think that will still hold true.
Oh, yeah, it does, but we just rewrote it for today and not for 10 years ago.
Gotcha.
Because there were new parks, there were maybe new trails, maybe there was, because the Black Diamond Trail is new.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nobody even knows, I mean, it's not in the old plan. So all of that has to be rewritten. You can't just take the old stuff and sort of piece it back together. You'll just have the same thing you had
Right. There
10
may
years
be
ago.
content that we could go back and pull.
And
that-
look,
not
yeah,
to
we can pull
recreate
some of the
something,
content,
but-
right, but it's not, you know, just to use the old to write the new. Because there's a lot that's
Yeah.
changed.
Are we
Yeah, I agree.
resurveying people?
We're going
Yes.
to.
Okay. So we are starting over in a
Yes.
way.
Mm.
Roxanne?
Yeah, I mean, I think that once we have a consultant, they'll help with that too, because they'll be gathering information and things that have changed and, helping us to do that. But I think this exercise is really good. And I think it's super useful for maybe helping to sort of, I don't know about guide, but give some little bit of structure to some of the public meetings where we're trying to get input from people and, like find out if some of these things are still things that people are really concerned about, that they really care about. And so looking at what people said before and in the lens of how does it change up with what we have now, or what people say now, what people think now is going to be really, really valuable and useful. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm checking, looking at a comment. I like the idea of starting out. Because I like that there's this framework. I agree, I don't think you can throw it all away, but
Oh, no, we
no,
use
yeah,
sections of it,
yeah.
but
But I like that approach. I guess I was looking at it of, okay, how can we take this comp plan from 2009 and manipulate's not the right word, but address it, bring it to 2023. We're looking at making something new, referencing that of this is what we did 14 years ago. Making something new,
Well, a lot has changed.
yeah,
I mean, even, you know, building wise, development wise is totally different now. There are different types of developments and none of it is going to be mentioned. I know that our ordinance is a little strange in some development, but there are, where I came from in New Hampshire, we did like cluster homes,
Yeah.
which would be 100 acres. You know, there was so many houses to be built depending on the density. And they would be like a small community because they had maybe 50 acres of greenland around those areas.
Mhm.
That's something new and it started to happen and we didn't have it in our plan and people wanted to put it in, but we didn't have it on
I
the
thought we did
ordinance
have
for it.
it in our plan, but
I mean,
it
and
could
also, you know, just development for businesses is different here. We have 96. Do we want to put all the businesses on 96 because of traffic? It could cause a problem. Do we want to, what we did is we made an industrial park. We found some property and we made it, well, we called it something else, but it was an industrial park. And that helped with the development because people were able to buy a section of land and probably put a building in or whatever, instead of crowding, because we had a route also like 96 that went through and businesses were just building everywhere and traffic. We had to hire more police, more fire department. The taxes got so much and that's why I'm living here, because the taxes are lower here than they are over there. Because of that occurrence, because the police was spread out. Our police, we had a town of 4,500 people. Our police had a, let's see, it was $1.5 million a year for just to run the police. That's a lot for 4,500 people.
Wow.
So I think, yeah, you have to rewrite a lot of this because it has
Right.
changed a lot.
Yeah, and I think that probably is the plan to do that and, you know, really, you know, look at these other plans and their layout and design and the concepts. And there are probably quite a bit of content from that 2009 plan that will translate to the next one, but
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of changes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we might want to consider an industrial park somewhere to keep 96 clean so that the traffic won't build up. Because every time you put a building there, another accident could occur.
Yeah.
And people do drive. I mean, speed limit is 55. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do 55 on there. If I do 55, I'm the slowest person on the road.
Yeah. I don't remember which of the comprehensive plans had some segment or section on the community engagement there in community, but one of them did, and I wish I could remember off the top of my head, had a section on what they did for community engagement, which I think is actually a good, it doesn't have to be long, but something in there on how you attempted to reach the community and get the input from your community members. And I know, I think one of you guys mentioned the question, you know, the actual survey question tied to the outcome and the plan. And I think that's a good strategy as well. Yeah. So deleting features, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Any other features from the existing plan that stood out as we should take this out?
I mean, I think there might be other things as we go along and as we're getting feedback from surveys and we're having town hall meetings and
Yeah.
we might and probably will find something else that's not gonna be relevant now or not the focus. But I don't think other than the things that we've talked about here, there's anything necessarily I was thinking we need to delete.
Yeah.
Just condense.
Is that something that,
Condense and visual.
yeah, when we do surveys, are we surveying the community? I don't know how many surveys are normal to do in this kind of a process, but will there be a question of here are the topics I'd like to have covered, don't cover the, are we asking the community, like, we don't, items that are not important, or we're just asking folks what items are important? You know what I mean?
So
Like you're asking us what we should delete. Are we asking?
So
you that?
sometimes they rank them, actually. I mean,
Yeah,
And it.
That's a good idea.
You know, like here's 10 topics which you think are most, where everybody's
Mhm.
all agree to number, these top 4. Okay, so that's a good, and then you kind of have to parse out which ones. And some, you know, we may be aware of something that people just don't realize. This is really important. So we're gonna
Yeah.
include it and we'll provide the outreach about it. So, I mean, that's how I think we would tackle it.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Niels?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Generally, I mean, this is my first time working with such a small rural community. of
Yeah.
Like 5,000 people. I'm used to like lots of engagement, like lots of surveys, and
Okay.
that can lead to certain burnout, but the thing is how you make it fun. So being interactive, pop-ups,
Yeah.
farmers markets, things like that. So it's a little
Pay
more
them.
engaging.
And I think we have an advantage this time that we didn't in 2019 with the internet
Yeah.
and social media. That's
Right.
gonna be very helpful to get more than 35 respondents.
Yeah.
Is there a legality on how we need to present the surveys? Like, can it all be done online? I don't think it should be all done online. I
Yeah.
think they're gonna be, does some of it have to be all paper? Can it be via the internet? Is
Is
there
there-
any
yeah,
type of
is
type
there-
how that has to be presented to people for X number of options for
It's a good
people to
question.
respond? I just,
We should give a
It's-
varied,
yeah,
Yeah,
you
not
know,
everybody has a
various
person.
ways to provide that information.
I would very strongly suggest as varied ways as possible. There isn't anything, as far as I know, that says you have to do one or the other.
Yeah.
But definitely internet, online surveys, but definitely paper as well. And it's,
just to help prevent that. Well, I didn't see it.
Mhm.
I didn't know
That's a
about
good,
it.
since there's a state component to this, they don't have a requirement for DEI engagement efforts. Like, I know, it might not be language, like, oh, it has to be in Spanish as well, but it could. I don't know, just because there's a state piece, yeah.
yeah, so my understanding of the grant is we do have to have that engagement portion, but I don't know that there, and we can look into it, but I don't know if anything says it must all be paper, for example, which I think is what the question was, versus it must be all online. So I think having a multi-pronged approach to
Uh-huh.
that survey will, one, save us on all fronts, right? But two, get as much input as possible, so.
Yeah, there was a group I worked with, and I don't know if this is relevant or not, but they're in Baton Rouge and they were doing a whole thing about a logo and they came up with a mascot for their town. And, you know, it was very much a community identity. And they did even just like a tree, like they made a paper tree and people just wrote ideas on leaves and stuck it. Yeah, like in one of their community centers, which makes me think of the school, which makes me think, is there a youth, like as part of this, you know, getting some of the youth voice also, when we do surveys, do we have a
I would,
strategy for
I
that?
would be a proponent of that.
Yeah, and that could be something fun, and that, and families could participate in that as well, and maybe the school, I don't know if there's a PTO anymore.
Yeah, there's PTOs
Yeah,
at each of the three schools.
so maybe
But
they'd
then
be
we could
willing to
also work
help.
with the youth commission.
Yeah, do something really hands-on that's, you know, it could be something that's really, you know, pretty and, you know, not
Get the
just
kids
a,
thinking too, because I do think kind of we need people to replace us in a couple of years. doing all
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Me too, you, yeah.
yeah.
There's some local papers, what the town, I think what town, Ithaca Times, they're low, you know, the free ones.
They have-
Yeah.
We can put a QR code in there
Yeah.
and people can just click on it and get the survey.
Yeah,
And it could be a short survey, nothing really long, because any more than 10
Yeah.
questions, they're gonna just
they're
get rid
gonna
of
lose,
it.
I agree.
And
Five
Carissa
questions
sends out
even
a
better.
newsletter. I'm not sure what her coverage is. I mean, we could also push to get more email addresses ahead, just so that's a venue that we can rely on, that we're reaching a
Yeah.
certain percentage of the town.
Yeah. Roxanne?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I mean, I think, you know, the youth outreach and trying to get to the families that way is a great idea. I think we do just need to be cognizant. You know, I've heard this a lot over my time in government from some people that, you know, a chunk of the town is not in the Trumansburg School District. And so,
Right.
that's really something that, and sometimes it really alienates people to think that, you know, you're focusing all that way. So we just need to think about that some is all. I
Sure.
don't think any of those ideas are bad at all. I just, from history. And there, it makes people feel like, oh, you don't care so much about this or you forgot there's this part of the town. And so obviously we don't want to do that. So it's just being cognizant of that is something we should do with that.
Yeah.
It's a great place to, where there's quite a concentration of people who are Ulysses residents, but it isn't the whole town at all. So, and in fact,
Right.
like most all the Lakeshore goes to Ithaca City Schools, not Trumansburg schools, because Ithaca was very good at grabbing the
Yeah,
properties
we probably, I'm
long
guessing,
ago.
be able to do an event at an Ithaca school for the Ulysses youth, probably,
Well,
right?
but we
So,
might be able to do like the Racker Center.
but maybe Rocker
Yeah.
The
Center
flip side
or
is,
the
so much
commission.
of the school is not in the town of Ulysses.
Right. Yeah,
You know,
we've
there's
had things at Racker before just to sort of try to really outreach that part of the community. It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
Anyway,
library could be a great place to access kids and
Yeah.
families.
Yeah.
I was just there today and that has Ulysses in their name, so.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. Mo, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, unfortunately, when it comes to surveys, because we've done the same thing, put all the surveys out. After we did the plan and it was published, that's when we got the people to come in,
Yeah.
because they were
Right.
all upset about it.
Yeah.
Just like the gentleman here,
Yeah.
who was complaining about 2009, where was he when they were doing the plan? Why wasn't he sitting in and expressing his opinion at that time? Afterwards, that's when they'll show up.
I think giving updates as we go,
Yeah.
and reporting on what's happening, I think can go a long way to,
But where do you
Well,
put that?
Communication
Where are
is so
people
much
gonna see
easier
it?
now than it was in
Right.
Yeah.
2009.
I mean,
You
I think
know, I mean, we should. be able
having
to-
this all available on the internet and on the town website is a start. Because
Yeah.
Right,
people can
yeah.
come back and watch the videos of us and the
Mhm.
talk and the discussions we've had and maybe,
Yeah,
I think the agendas are posted there.
yeah,
Agendas, meetings, the
Yeah.
minutes, the videos.
So
that's
that
all
they
there.
could maybe see like what might be coming up in another meeting. I know there will be a lot of other groups that discussions from here, like Roxanne, I'm sure can take information back to the various committees that she's on and make sure that they're involved. And if there's something regarding stormwater that's coming up in one of our meetings, she can make sure that her, and yeah, sorry. you
That's
do.
all right. No, that's all right.
That they're there. I'm working to get the agricultural committee back going. So I know that's gonna be a key to, and Ty as well, will be bringing information back to the agricultural communities that we, and the farmers and everybody in the agricultural groups, so that we can get them, hey, this issue's coming up today, please try to bring here, like present here, even via Zoom, like they don't have to physically be here. I think that's another advantage we have here. So I think it's just continually us talking and trying to get as much word out as we can to try to get people engaged early. There are always gonna be those that won't come in until we have something written, and it's not too late, but it's beyond, like, people don't
Right,
react
Liz.
until they have, it's something affecting them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think everything you say, Liz, is right on. We have to just try to outreach every way that we can, and inevitably there is going to be some of that. And now we have the internet and it's great. And so, yeah, we'll just try our best. Have some focus groups. Maybe we can have the agricultural community. Maybe they'd come to, coffee and donuts for just a targeted time to talk to us, and, just do everything we can to engage as many people as possible.
Mo,
I think what we could do is have each group separate, like the agricultural, bring them in here, whoever, and have a talk with them instead of having every group here at once, because that makes it very confusing. So maybe we can get lakefront people say, look, we're gonna have a discussion. You either, if you want to participate, show up, Zoom or whatever the case may be. And then we can do, each section of the town that's important and have that group. And that way we can probably get more input than if we have 30 people here all talking about different things.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah, that's an interesting idea.
And there are
Noted.
already so many subset groups, I feel like, set up, like
Yeah,
there's the Trumansburg Chamber of Commerce, have them have the discussion. There's so many of
Yeah.
those that go tie in with this so well that I think that's a really smart approach to try to talk to everybody and nobody wants to come to a meeting wondering where they are in a docket, sitting
Right.
through
Yeah.
list, waiting. People just don't want to do it anymore.
They
I
want
don't
to talk
think.
about a specific topic and have it be short and sweet. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have free dinner and drinks. Yeah, you come.
Raffle giveaways.
Right, right.
If you stay the whole meeting, you get double.
That's right.
Dessert.
Is there a social media like plan ever or strategy for any of our committees or?
So, no, well. So the town
Double-edged
board
sword.
actually last night was looking at a social media policy. It's not been approved, but the intent would not be to have a Facebook page or like an Instagram page where it would be more us giving information. So it'd be like a duplicate of the town board page
Mm.
where there's information that you can pull and you can go check when meetings are, when company meetings are, access and
think
links
that's wise.
to
Mhm.
the any plans or documents the town might have, meeting minutes, agendas and all that, but it's not gonna be something where people can post. We want
Yeah,
still to
interactive.
maintain comments coming in either in public or written comments through the
Right.
clerk.
Yeah,
So
with real people, not bots.
there will be some presence, but it'll be a limited
Yeah,
presence,
okay.
but not
I think that's
soon
wise.
because we haven't
Mhm.
approved the policy yet.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work to do that anyway. You'd have to have somebody just to do that.
all the time,
Oh, yeah, all the time.
all day long,
Oh, yeah.
every day. I like it. Okay. I think we were on deleting features.
We were.
Do we have anything else we need to iron out on that topic or? Pretty good. Okay. Niels, do you want, so we, originally said we were gonna try to keep this meeting to an hour. And we were giving ourselves an extra 30 minutes window wiggle room to wrap things up. Do you wanna try to fit in another topic or do you wanna wait and do that next time and get onto our next item, which is the meeting schedule and kind of next steps?
I think there's a lot of discussion on comparisons of existing, but maybe 10 minutes more on just the last one, where maybe there were features in other comp plans you saw that other jurisdictions had that Ulysses did not have that you thought was really great.
Town of Southampton or Dryden, it might have been Dryden, had an opportunities and challenges to every single one of their
Mhm.
goals.
I really like
Which I
that.
thought was very
Mhm.
interesting because it was forward thinking and I really thought that was. So I would encourage to try to,
Pottstown had something, and they would have concerns,
yeah,
and it sort of focused it a little, I don't know, or that showed that you understood what was at stake and,
right.
Well, and that you asked the community and they responded and you responded
yeah.
to their concerns, yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
I liked the Dryden one also.
Yeah.
I liked that aspect of it, just because I think that there's not a great understanding of the challenge. There's the desires and then the challenges, and there's not a great understanding all the time of those. So people are getting a better sense of trade-offs need to be made or choices need to be made, or, this is how this was come to. So I liked that a lot. I liked the supervisor statement in the beginning of Dryden, the way that it would laid out, what they did, just in a good way, like taking into account sustainability and all, and that there's always challenges. And so I liked that aspect that Liz just brought up of the Dryden plan as well.
Other ideas? I feel like I noted a couple earlier, but I'll just say it again for this section. One was I did like the history timeline. That was really just simple, and then you could click on it and be like, oh, what did happen in 1936, and get some more information if you really wanted it, to keep that tie to history, because not everybody here knows the whole
Yeah.
history of the town, and sometimes it's the first time they've seen any of that.
not obsessing over Dryden.
Yeah.
Another thing that I liked was that they talked about the viability of the town's agricultural community,
Right.
where we focused on the preservation and protection of agricultural lands. And I feel like using the term viability brought in the human component of farming and the fact that farmers are being hit with a lot of issues right now, from climate change and changes in weather to invasive species to higher taxes and not be able to afford their lands anymore and making choices. So that was just kind of a tone that theirs took that I seem to appreciate.
I think the average age of farmers is like 58 now or something.
Yeah, and a lot of them don't have succession. There are nobody to take over the farms, like no children. So it's
So
just
keeping
something.
farming in our town, not just.
Right, and
farmland.
it's, right, so it's, I know there's been a sentiment, it was brought up in one of our ag meetings that some of the farmers feel like the town loves farm fields, not farmers.
I do love farm fields, though. I ride my bike and I take pictures all the time.
Yeah, no, and they're beautiful, and when the crops, I ran past a field the other day with yellow flowers, and I don't know what it was, I don't know if it was beans or something, but it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Yellow?
Yeah, I don't know what it was, it was it was beautiful, it was all like this whole field of yellow,
Oh, it's
small
an
little
oil.
flowers.
I can't remember which one.
So, I mean, I love it too, but that
Yeah.
farmer might not be able to do this for 10 more years
Right.
with taxes and everything, so.
Unfortunately, most people don't know what farmers do and
Yeah.
what they go through.
Yeah.
They have not a clue. All they know is they can go to the grocery store and buy their food. If there were no farmers, there'd be no food.
Though I will
And-
say, we have a lot of CSAs around here where you do get much more connected with the.
Oh,
farms and the
I belong
farmers,
to a
yeah.
CSA, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't think people realize it, and I think that is very important to explain to them why there is farmland. Because if we don't have it, you won't have food.
Yeah.
And I was reading today that an article about how a lot of farmers all over the country are having a problem, as you said, climate change, and certain food products are going to be very expensive in the next few months. Like they said, ketchup, mayonnaise, all of these items because of climate change, because the farmers are having a hard time, or they couldn't afford to keep their farm anymore and had to sell it.
yeah. And obviously this plan is not gonna solve that.
Oh,
but
no,
think
I know, but-
recognizing that there are multi-pronged, I mean, with anything too, housing and everything.
Yeah,
I think that's something we need to keep kind of in our heads as we're working through developing this comp plan.
Yeah.
But that just, the term caught my attention and struck out to me.
Yeah.
there's a good compromise between development and farming.
Yeah.
We just have to find it.
Yes, yeah, and protection of environmental resources. We have a lot of beautiful environmental and natural
Mhm.
resources here that we don't want to see diminished. So
Oh, and
it's
yes.
everything.
Well,
It's the balance.
Ulysses, tourists are very important
Yeah.
here in
Yeah.
Ulysses. If we don't have tourists, we're gonna lose a lot also.
Yeah.
And that's all the scenic beauty we have.
Yeah. Maybe they're.
It's a super huge challenge, but it's an
Yeah.
important one.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
it's
I mean,
nothing we're gonna solve.
I've been
No.
listening to, thinking about this hard since 2004 or 5 when I started. And so it's going to be ongoing, but it would be cool if we could, really engage people and get a community buy-in towards something that could work.
Yeah, well, and I think as part of the plan, I think it is nice to tie that human element into it. And maybe it can be a did you know, or just a little snippet even throughout our comprehensive plan to make it personal and highlight somebody or highlight a fact that maybe
Yeah.
someone doesn't know about farming or housing or, or tourism or
I did
whatever.
mention, in Pittsburgh, they have a whole separate, plan devoted to preserving green space.
Mm.
So I think it's a problem in many places. I mean, they've had so much development, but so they have a whole section developed, not like outside of their plan. And certainly there are a lot of communities here who have conservation easements and have bought land. Pittsburgh, like just out and out bought land just to save it.
Mhm.
or, you know, development rights to farmers, or, you know, there are ways, I mean,
Did you guys see in Southampton, they have like a tax, a
Mhm.
small tax, and that goes toward a land acquisition fund? And I thought, we don't have anything like that. It's a great
Right.
idea, you
That's a
know,
great
some
idea.
way to start
New
funding.
York
where-
State has that, though. They allow that. You have to draw, I think Danby actually got that. They went through the process of being allowed to do that. So if we were interested in that, we could talk to their planner, who's David West, who worked on the last zoning revision of the Ulysses one. He said that there was some complexity to it, but it's doable. I think they allow like 2% of a sale or something. New York State has something in place, but you have to apply, and the legislature has to okay each municipality to be able to do it.
Okay. Other features of other plans, I think that's what we're talking about. I really liked the Brockport one. I don't know if you guys looked at that, but I thought that was a really good plan. I love their action plan, and that's what I want to see. I want to see tables and charts and demographics and, you know, like, I definitely want to see those visuals. Right, anything else? All right, Niels, anything else you want to
No, but
talk about with this?
it's a segue to next month, and it hopefully dovetails really nicely with the DEC grant, hopefully getting resolved and being able to go up to RFQ is, and we'll finish up. If you have any additional comments, please send them to me, and I'll revise comments, maybe make it a little bit more clear by topic point, like, you know, because right now all I did was copy and paste into the document. So maybe a little bit more user friendly for y'all. But so part 2 would be finding out what is really important, what you think is important to include for our 24 plan. Because that's going to be instrumental, I think, in for the consultant to know what we want. So one of the things I heard a lot was readability and something that's going to engage people. And if you look at, for example, Corning's, it may have had, or not Corning, no, Corning, it may have had a lot of really great information in there, but when you look at it, it
Yeah.
puts you to sleep.
Yeah,
And
not engaging.
So are you talking just about topics itself, like development or that type, or?
portions of that, but also how the document's going to be presented and put together. If the consultant will be doing that, that's extra time and extra money. If they can, you know, and there's only so much money that we're going to be able to use with this with the grant. Something like that, I do believe is very important. It shouldn't just be for elected and appointed. It should be for the town as a whole. So you want people to actually engage and read it.
Yeah.
And
But they'll be
maybe-
happy when they read it.
Yeah.
And be like, cool.
Knocking
Yeah.
things down.
So this was sort of part 1 to the exercise. Part 2 will be coming out. I'll be a little bit more clear
Okay.
for that, but
So more homework,
more homework,
all right,
but not as involved this time.
and everybody's keeping track of your time.
Yes.
What do you mean?
We have time
Yeah, I was gonna say,
sheets.
do you guys know about that?
Oh,
So we have time sheets where we're tracking how much time by the quarter hour that we contribute to this endeavor.
It includes the meetings.
Includes meetings and anytime you are just thinking about it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, not just thinking, but, you know, doing any activity, actively
participating.
doing
in to
something
benefit.
related to
Okay.
this. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you two and Ty will send it out to Ty as well. You can do it by PDF or Excel spreadsheet, whatever's more comfortable for you. And it's in blocks of time, months. I
Yeah,
think, 3-month
quarters, I think.
periods,
This month is one end, I think,
Yeah, end of June.
end of June, right?
So for the homework assignment that you did, just kind of guesstimate how much time you might have put into that.
it seemed like forever.
Yeah. That- I agree. So you're gonna send a part 2, we're gonna review that. We are not at this point putting surveys out or getting in things that we're waiting for the RFQ person to come on board
Correct.
to do that. Okay, so right now we're just kind of coming up with the general frame.
Correct.
All right, and that'll be our next review and you'll give us a deadline,
I will.
okay? Anything else?
No.
Is that new, is that our that was just part of A there, so we need to talk about our meeting schedule.
Meeting schedule. That was
Okay.
actually part of C, we kind of jumped, but
Okay,
yeah, we.
Um,
meeting schedule.
so meeting schedule, so we're still once a month, with maybe some things outside, right now while we're getting this structure built. So we have to pick a date for July. I think we had said the third, Wednesday, kind of when we first started
The 19th,
meeting. But I now have a conflict, which is okay.
about the
Liz is
12th,
our co-chair, so she can lead us,
about the 12th.
or we could pick a different day. Or was it set for the 12th? Wait a minute.
I think it was the 12th.
I'm sorry, it was the 12th.
I
Sorry.
have the 12th, yeah.
I have the 12th. So it was the second week, Wednesday, which is the week I have a conflict. But I don't feel like I have to be here if Liz is okay with leading the meeting, or we could pick a different date. I'm okay with either option.
Would
Are
always be
you-
the
I
second
was gonna say,
Wednesday,
yours always have the conflict.
always on the second Wednesday.
Yours is always second Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and we can talk about, like we said, we're gonna just keep revisiting this every couple of months, like what works, and we could even go month to month if we want to. It's nice to have a sort of a thing that works. I think we picked that second Wednesday because
I can't make the 12th, but I'll,
you
you know.
had something on a regular day a week or something, but
We have planning board.
oh, right. that
Yes,
was
it was
That's
planning
right.
board.
What was it?
First Tuesday and third Tuesday of the month.
okay, so like, we'll just skip Tuesdays.
Tuesdays, yeah,
maybe.
because
Tuesday-
we're
yeah,
just,
Tuesday's
we're the
bad day.
opposite for the board.
Okay, so Tuesdays are just out, Wednesdays were kind of okay, right?
Wednesdays are good at everything but the second one.
Everyone except the second Wednesday, okay.
And the third doesn't work because of BZA.
Third doesn't
Oh,
work because
that's
of
right.
BZA, so
Are
do-
Thursdays an option?
For me, that's fine.
Thursdays for me will be on or off, but that's okay. I mean, I have class a lot on Thursday nights, so, but it changes from one month to the next. Sometimes it's Wednesday, sometimes it's Tuesday, sometimes it's Thursday.
Could we just float a date?
Yeah.
I
Is
mean,
Wednesday bad
when
for
we,
you?
because it's a month away right
I
now.
often have another meeting before this, but it's
Yeah.
never a conflict.
Okay,
I mean,
We
there
have
are a
month-
lot of people on this committee, so if we could sort of try to get a date that's the same, that would help. I mean, adjusting makes sense, but
yeah, I think Tuesdays and Thursdays are out. I think our initial meeting, we thought Wednesdays were the best, but it really, to me, doesn't matter if it's the second Wednesday or the fourth Wednesday or
Hmm.
whatever Wednesday, or maybe Mondays, but did someone have something on
You
Mondays?
guys have your.
yeah, we have we
Oh,
have
you have
a-
a-
every 2 well, right now, it might change, but we have meetings on the first and third Mondays, I think. Yeah. Or second and fourth. No, I don't know what right now. I can't find it, but yeah.
So far with that Wednesdays, how has that worked for folks? So it's okay for
Wednesdays is
Rebecca.
fine.
It's been okay with me.
Fine.
Which Wednesday of the month? Sorry, didn't hear. it.
Well, just Wednesday in general, I think as a day of the week to kind of target. And then I
Uh-huh.
would say, we were going with the second Wednesday, but that's not good for Allison, right? Is it Allison?
Yeah.
Yes. So we could pick a different Wednesday. The third was something, but maybe the fourth?
19th or the 26th both work for me, the 12th doesn't, but I'm just one.
For the
person.
first?
So the 19th, so Rebecca could do the 19th or the 26th. I believe I could as well.
I could do
5/19 or 20.
It's the 19th or the 5th.
Oh, I could do the 19th.
19th
Nope, I
is
can't do the 5th.
the BZA.
That's
19th.
BZA,
19th.
Right.
is easy.
yeah.
Okay.
So
I
it'd
can, I
be-
can do the other ones, I think.
Does the 26th work? Is that too far away? 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks? Okay.
How about the 5th, the first week, Wednesday? It's less far away, and maybe if you're trying to get the RFP out and all that we need to talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
I should be coming back into town by then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
should
5th
be
is-
okay.
That's the holiday. July 4th, people might be not
Yeah.
home yet.
It's people might be, I think I'm okay with it. I should be back in town.
Or you
Um,
could go to the Thursday, the 6th, and to give another day back. It just seems like waiting till all the way to the end of July might not be ideal with the,
The fifth
Yeah,
or
our-
the 5th or the 26th, I think is what we're talking about. So Niels, why don't you tell us what you think about the RFQ and
I agree with Roxanne, the 26th is pushing it out to the town board and to August.
yeah,
So if we
And
can
we
do
only
it,
have one meeting in August.
Right.
we want to try the 5th. Does that work for folks?
Yeah.
Okay,
I will make it work.
all right, let's do the 5th. And I will change
At 6.
from the 12th, exactly, not the 12th, now the 5th, 6 o'clock. An hour is our target, but we have so far been going a little over. Which is okay, hard stop at 7:30.
Thank you.
So is it's 6 o'clock again? I'm sorry. it was
6
a little
o'clock,
hard
yep.
from here.
Sorry.
And no,
6 at- on the
it's
5th.
my fault for not, I'm on this, not there. And then like blocking out till 7:30 as the latest that it'll end. Is that what
Yeah,
you said?
hard
Okay,
stops, yeah, ideal stop 7, hard stop 7:30.
okay.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and then August, do we want to, I think right now we are scheduled for the 9th, the 9th. Do we want to get 2 months on the calendar here? I think right now I have it as the 9th, the second Wednesday. Does that work for folks?
well, except for Allison.
Oh,
It's
not
at
second,
6.
not second.
Yeah,
Third,
that's BZA, right?
that's BZA. Fourth, I'm out of town.
So maybe we're on the 1st again.
So maybe we're back to
The
August
second?
2nd. Okay. So not the
Well, and I
9th.
think that would be good because our meeting, I believe, for the town board is 8th. So if there's anything we need to, that
Okay.
slips into August, we have the 8th, and then we're not meeting until September.
Yeah,
So maybe
actually,
we're really looking at the first Wednesday of the month instead of like as we
That's a
go
lot of
forward,
fun.
if we
Meeting
can.
after the other.
Wednesday the 2nd, let me get that right. Okay,
So what do you have for August, the 2nd?
yes. Yes, August 2nd. So July 5th, then August 2nd, and then do you want to revisit at that time? Okay,
Yeah.
because September's gonna get,
September's-
September's gonna get wacky, so
All
let's
changes
just,
happen in
let's just,
September.
yeah, have those 2
Kids trying
months.
to class, school and stuff. you know.
Yeah, things get crazy. Okay,
Thank you so much.
yeah, wait, I have to do something. Anything else? Okay, I think I have to get a motion to adjourn.
Yes, I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mo. All in favor?
Bye.
I'm not gonna
Aye.
ask if anyone's opposed, like I did last time. Aye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Roxanne.